Welcome back to Reviews and Rankings with Robby Sobel. Today, we take a look at the 2022 film, Crimes of the Future. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a long time since we pumped out some new reviews, but you know what? Every once in a while you need to take a step back, regroup, refresh, and come back better than ever. And what better time for yours truly to come back on the channel than a David Cronenberg film. I've been a David Cronenberg fan for decades. The first David Cronenberg film that I ever saw was The Fly, probably in the early 90s when I was like 6, 7 years old. And those visuals, to this day, still have made an impact on me where I very rarely go back to watch the movie just because it's very unsettling and a bit disturbing. As the years went on, probably around the year 2000 or so, I watched a documentary that featured David Cronenberg that talked about his work like Shivers, Rabid, Scanners, and Videodrome, really digging into the body horror films that focused on deeper themes like sexual exploration and just our own bodies and how we deal with change and moving forward and whatnot. And it's been a while since David Cronenberg tapped in to these type of themes in his films, but he's doing it with Crimes of the Future. I had a chance to check it out last week and I was not disappointed. Crimes of the Future is a 2022 film written and directed by David Cronenberg. It stars Viggo Mortensen, Léa Seydoux, Kristen Stewart, and Scott Speedman. Crimes of the Future follows a performance artist named Sal Tenzer who has the ability to grow new organs that seem to serve no purpose. Tenzer is living in a dystopian future where humans have adapted and evolved to the synthetic environment around them and suffer from what is called accelerated evolution syndrome, which also includes the inability to feel pain, leading to the further exploration of their senses, including sexual attraction. Sal works with his partner Caprice, who helps perform surgery in front of audiences to remove these organs, which has caught the eye of several groups. One of these organizations is through the government via the National Organ Registry, who want to track individuals to help restrict the process of evolution and deny to the people that there is any real change. One of the heads of the registry is Timlin, who has a growing interest and attraction to Sal and his ability to grow those organs. Another group are a growing community of evolutionists who want to modify their own digestive system so that they be able to digest plastic and other synthetic chemicals. This group is led by Lang Dotris, whose son Brecken had been born with the ability to eat plastic, which would be proving the fallacy of the government's stance on human evolution. These groups clash, with Sal and Caprice stuck in the middle. Alright guys, so let's dig in and talk about Crimes of the Future. So about a month ago, Crimes of the Future got its first screening at the Cannes Film Festival, and the reactions, as expected for a Cronenberg film, were mixed. There were reports of several walkouts due to people being uncomfortable with the body horror visuals on screen. But there was also a 7-minute standing ovation after the conclusion of the film's first screening. So this is not going to be a movie that is for everyone, but if you're into any of the Cronenberg films, especially his early body horror stuff that we talked about earlier, that shouldn't really come as a surprise. The horror genre is a very wide-ranging genre of film, probably the most wide-ranging of any genre. So under the umbrella of horror, there are so many different subgenres. So just because you say you're a horror fan, that really doesn't narrow it down. That could mean a lot of different things. A Cronenberg fan is kind of a very niche section of the horror community. If you're into his films and what he's trying to say through them, you'll probably love Crimes of the Future. But if you're not into his earlier work, you might want to take a pass and stay with something a little bit more safe. Stay with something that's a little bit more mainstream. You're getting a ton of this mainstream stuff that's coming out. You know, we just had Halloween Kills and the new Scream. More kind of like safe horror, so you can stick with that and kind of get your scary movie feel. But this is a little bit different, and personally, I absolutely loved it. As we follow Crimes of the Future, we're really stepping into the shoes of Sal Tenzer, played by Viggo Mortensen. Now, Viggo Mortensen and David Cronenberg, they have a nice history together, specifically his work in A History of Violence and Eastern Promises. That's really a great double feature. They were released within just a couple of years of each other, 2005 and 2007. But this is something completely different for Viggo and Cronenberg to tackle. Those were more like action drama films, and of course this is a horror film, and a body horror film at that. So we follow the Sal Tenzer character, and he's an interesting one because he is a performance artist, but he has to use his body and what's being done naturally to his body for his own work, and it's not easy. See, Sal Tenzer has different equipment and machines that help just get him through everyday life, whether it's to sleep or to eat and swallow properly. Sal Tenzer is living a day-to-day life that is really a struggle. His partner, his life partner and his work partner, Caprice, played by Lea Seydoux, very well again in this role. They played a great role together, a great team together. They had good chemistry. She's kind of like his anchor to get him through the tough moments, and they're a yin and a yang. They have a good vibe, and what they put on screen together, I buy it. I got into both of these characters, and even when there wasn't a lot going on screen in the form of action or even kind of the grotesque horror side of things, I was along for the ride because I believed their chemistry and their performances were convincing enough for me. Now, as strong as the performances were by Viggo Mortensen and Lea Seydoux, the character that steals the show in Crimes of the Future is Timlin, played masterfully by Kristen Stewart. Kristen Stewart has about 45 to 50 minutes of screen time, so there's a solid amount that she's on screen to give to us, and every second that she's on the screen, she chews it up. She owns the moment and literally steals the show. I tweeted out about this, and it was kind of tongue-in-cheek when I was tweeting it, but I meant it in a lot of ways. I was like never more attracted to a character as I was to the Timlin character in Crimes of the Future. And that's saying a lot. She doesn't play like a very overly sexual or kind of stereotypically sexy character. She's a little nerdy, a little awkward. There's something a bit odd about this character. She stutters a bit, and the way she vocalizes what she wants to say, she does it in a nervous way. There's almost like a nervous tick that's coming along with her delivery. But it's attractive and it's odd, and she just hit a home run with it. And even if this type of a film is not for you, if you're a fan of Kristen Stewart, definitely check it out. She will not disappoint you in any way. I personally can't wait to own the Blu-ray so I can watch this film again specifically for her performance. Now, Crimes of the Future doesn't give you an exact time frame from when the story takes place, but it does take place in the future. It's very dystopian. It's very bleak. It's very dirty. And cinematographer Douglas Koch is in lockstep with David Cronenberg's vision and how he wanted his world to look. The color palette reflects this. It's very dry at times. The atmosphere feels tight and claustrophobic, and that really is perfect for a film like this. This is not a large film in scope. This is a smaller story, and those claustrophobic visuals and feel really hammer home the themes that David Cronenberg is putting out there, and it builds the tension, it builds the suspense, especially when we get a lot of these body horror visuals that are put through. It just heightens up that atmosphere, and it couldn't have been better done. I'm really impressed with the look of this film, and once I get that Blu-ray again and part of my collection, I'm going to pop it in, and that's going to be something that I really keep an extra eye on just to really enjoy this feel of the film. Now, the same thing can be said about the score and the music in this. Howard Shaw is a man that has worked all but one time with David Cronenberg since 1979. So it's safe to say that these two men are familiar with each other. Cronenberg trusts Shaw, and he was right to do so. Just like David Koch handling the visuals and the cinematography, Howard Shaw handles the ambiance and the sound, whether it's the soundtrack and score itself or just the other sounds that are used in the film. It really all works together. Making a movie is like just baking a cake. You have to have all different ingredients for it to work perfectly. And between Douglas Coke and the cinematography, Howard Shaw handling the music, all of the actors and the actresses putting their performances in, and then David Cronenberg kind of leading the charge and putting all the pieces together, that gives you Crimes of the Future, which in my opinion is one of the better films of the year so far. Now, no film is perfect, so there has to be a few things wrong with Crimes of the Future, and you know what? There is. I enjoyed the pacing of it, but I understand the criticisms that some people have, thinking that it's a little bit slower paced at times. The film is about an hour and 45 minutes, give or take, and there are times where the movie does become a bit slow, and it could feel like it's a bit of a slog. For myself, I was invested enough in the story and the characters where I didn't mind that, but if those elements are not clicking with you 100%, I can understand how the movie might feel like it's not moving fast enough for you. The other criticism that some people are saying is that the body horror scenes are a bit overstated in the promotion of the film. People were saying that everyone was walking out of the Cannes Film Festival. David Cronenberg was warning that they possibly would be walkouts. And what we got on screen was grotesque at times, but it didn't reach the level of some of Cronenberg's earlier body horror work, like a Videodrome or a Scanners. There's no signature scene in this movie that stands out like those films do. In Scanners, the big scene that everybody remembers is the exploding head visual. Of course, in Videodrome, amongst others, there's the scene of the lead character kind of putting his head inside of a TV that kind of becomes almost flesh in itself. Nothing like that is in Crimes of the Future. I don't think it holds it back, and I don't think it is a big negative on the film, but if you're going into this movie expecting signature body horror moments like we have had in the past, you might be slightly disappointed. Now, if we take a look at Rotten Tomatoes, we can see what both critics and audiences are saying about the film. On the critic side, 78% are giving a recommendation for Crimes of the Future. Unfortunately, over on the audience side, it's only about 46%. That's not a major surprise, considering that David Cronenberg does not make films for a general audience. So not every moviegoer is going to like this film, and not every horror fan is going to like this film. This film is really for the niche horror audience that are into body horror movies, like yours truly. So Rotten Tomatoes is kind of giving us a little bit of each side, but as far as me, I'm swinging for the fences on this one. I'm going to go almost all the way with it and say that Crimes of the Future is getting a 4.5 out of 5-star rating. Everything about this movie just worked for me. I really liked the story, and I thought the themes that David Cronenberg has put forward in there, dealing with the body, how we're changing, how people and their bodies are changing, how society looks at the change and how they deal with the change, how some accept it and others push back and don't. These are relevant themes that are present today. These are issues that had been going on previously, and these are issues that are going to continue to be in the lexicon of social and political commentary. So definitely give Crimes of the Future a shot, even if you don't think it'll be for you. You never know. It's 2 hours, a little bit less, and I think it's worth it. The performances were all on point, like I had mentioned. David Cronenberg's direction is as good as ever. The overall look of the film and the sound of the film, it just worked well for me. So 4.5 stars out of 5 for Crimes of the Future. Well, thank you guys for checking out the channel. If this is your first time, definitely make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at RankingsRS. And for those that have come back into the fold, thank you for having patience and giving the channel another shot. I'm hoping to pump out a couple of videos each month with some interesting, cool content, focusing on newer films like The Black Phone and Nope that'll be coming out over the next month or two, and my Defending to the Grave series, which will start up in just a couple of weeks, where I look at Hellraiser, not just the original film, but the entire franchise, which seems to get a lot of heat from a lot of people, and I feel deserves a bit more credit. So thanks for checking out the channel, guys, and keep watching movies.